So a pretty common story, and I don't want this to be you, is the bull run starts, you're making a ton of money, your portfolio is 2x, 3x, 5x, and then you ride it all the way down. You never take profit. Let me know in the comments if you've experienced that last cycle or maybe over the last two cycles. A lot of clients and members we work with admit to that. They got in, they made a ton of money on paper, their ledgers looked amazing, and then they lost it all. And they oftentimes ended up worse off than they were because they started making some really, well, stupid, emotional decisions. My hand is up because I've done it too. So Gordon today is going to walk us through a bit of a ladder out strategy. By the way, if you leave a comment below, we are going to make this spreadsheet available to you so you can actually plug in some stuff for yourself. More details about that closer to the end of the video. But for now, Gordon, take it away. Let's talk about the ladder out and let's make sure people watching actually make some money this bull run instead of end up back at zero, which sucks.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to ride the roller coaster up and then cash out, before we come back down. So as you alluded to, Lucas, absolutely. Many of us have been there and we've learned the hard way that, you need to have a strategy for taking profits as much as you have a strategy for dollar cost averaging into positions. And, I created the spreadsheet and it'll be available for everyone below to access this, to plug and play for your own portfolio and make that plan. Because at the height of the bull market, as you said, you're not thinking from a rational perspective because you see, you feel like a king. You've made all this money on paper, but if you don't lock in those profits, you'll end up riding that all the way back down again. So the idea with the spreadsheet is, it's pretty simple, but there's a few variables to plug in. You want to put in the asset here that you're holding. In this case, we've got 100 Solana tokens, and we're creating a very, regimented strategy for laddering out of our Solana position as Solana increases in price. So you can see that the first rung on our ladder here is to sell about 10% of our Solana when it reaches $499. The next 20% we will sell at $599. The next 20% at $699. The next 30% at $799. And then the idea is to kind of let that last 20% run. We might get all the way up to $12.99, but the idea would be to let that last 20% run and lock in profits when we think we're getting towards a top. And we're never going to predict the perfect top. So, this is to help us lock in profits all the way up. And, the other part of the variable in this spreadsheet is thinking about where the price of the asset is actually going to go to. So, I think we'll need to make a separate video on breaking down price predictions, but, we want to make sure that we have some pretty reasonable targets for laddering out of that position. And again, similarly, another quick example with SUI, if we've got 6,000 SUI tokens, we're going to sell and ladder out at each of these different percentages. And, you guys can play around with these percentages yourself. This is one way to do it. You might want to sell out 20% by the time we get to $6 or $7, or, you can tweak these percentages to suit your needs and suit your portfolio. And, the final thing, I guess, is just the sum total once we ladder out of these positions is given in this total sell and the total of each of the assets. So in this spreadsheet, we've got 5 assets as an example portfolio: Sol, Sui, Aero, Jupiter, and Caspa. The sum total of each of these black boxes is given to us in our ladder out total. And this is kind of like our target by the time we scale out of all of our positions. And then finally, the portfolio snapshot is just kind of showing us what that looks like from a visual perspective when we ladder out of those positions and the percentages that we would have locked in profits for each of the tokens. So yeah, I think it's just super helpful to have this in place, months before we get to the height of the bull cycle. And, what I'm going to be doing is going into my wallet, DEXs, and centralized exchanges, and I'm going to be setting limit orders well in advance. I'm going to set a limit order to sell, 10 Sol at $4.99. I'll have another limit order to sell 20% at $5.99. And those limit orders will be in place, weeks, if not months before Sol actually gets to these prices. So, having a plan is always helpful, and having a strategy to get us there, I think is the goal with this spreadsheet.
It's so good. I think I used to do this mistake a lot. And honestly, I'm probably still guilty of it at times, is I will buy an asset without really having a plan of what I actually want to do in the first place. I just see, hey, this is really valuable. The market's pulled back and I'll buy it. And then after the fact, I'm like, and here's my plan for it. But I really, really think that um like sure, you can buy something because it's undervalued, you love it. But like if you don't create a plan for what you're gonna do with that, then what it'd be like, oh, I'm gonna buy a rental property because it's a good deal. Full stop, buy, and then do nothing with it. It's just what's your plan for it? And I think a lot of people are probably sitting on a bag of random coins and tokens, which is awesome. You're playing the game, you're in the market. Big win, congrats. Two, how are you going to win the game? And it's not about making the most amount of money. As you can see here, Gordon's like, here's the price prediction I have for Sol, and a reasonable price prediction. And maybe yours is bigger, yours is smaller. But the point is, it's not like make as much money as possible because we know where that gets us. That gets us into emotional decisions. It's make profits that fit my criteria, that fit my risk tolerance, and that I lock it in so I can go on and move on with life. And even when you cash out, $718,000 of cash sitting in a bank account is completely useless if you haven't thought about, and what am I going to do with that? Am I going to wait out the next cycle, get back in on the bear market? Am I going to take half and invest in real world assets? Am I going to pay down the mortgage, or what am I going to do with it? And and again, sometimes you have to feel the pain once or twice before you actually learn some kind of financial savviness. But hopefully, by being on this YouTube channel and listening to Gordon and the team and the other videos on this YouTube channel, hopefully you can avoid 90% of those mistakes. I feel like Gordon, you got something else coming up here. I feel like you got something.
Yeah, I think
Yep.
you touched on it with the emotional decision making side of it. We want to remove as much of the emotional decision making as possible. And, having a plan and a strategy and mapping it out here in advance, I think helps to remove some of that, because we don't make rational decisions from an
Yeah.
emotional standpoint. And I think there's tons of other videos we'll make, I'm sure, about how do we redeploy this. Are we going to go into stables? Are we going to sit on our hands for a while?
Mm-hmm.
We'll make a few videos on that for sure. But
Let's go.
yeah, we want to remove that emotion from the process.
Let's go. There will be actually, you know what? Just let me know in the comments if you want access to this spreadsheet. We'll make sure you get a link. And with that said, thanks for joining us. If this video was valuable, like the video. This channel does not grow without your support at all. And this channel has grown organically. I can actually check the analytics, and there's more and more shares of these videos, which is super, super awesome. If you have someone who you're like, hey, you should probably know about laddering out, share this video with them. Again, this channel doesn't grow. Our kind of goal and target is to have 100,000 YouTube subscribers, not so I can feel ego inflated and feel like I'm some kind of influencers or something, but because we should be able to attract with 100K subscribers bigger names, maybe early stage projects that really want a launch pad. And now it's like our whole community can win because of it. So that's really our intent behind that. So if this video was helpful, like it, share it with someone, subscribe to the channel, all that cool YouTube stuff. And with that said, Gordon, thanks for sharing this. Super, super valuable.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks, Lucas.